Hi there. Welcome to this overview of the Xero Cashbook edition. Now, when you first log into Xero, you'll land on the dashboard, which is what we're seeing here. But I actually want to start somewhere slightly different, which is under Settings and Chart of Accounts. Now, we will have sent you a spreadsheet asking you what account codes you want in Xero. And in Xero, you have a number and a description. So for instance, here, we've got the number 200, the account code 200 is actually sales. And anything in the account range 200, so 200, 260, 270 is income. 300 range is direct costs, they're costs that relate directly to your sales. And in the 400 range are overheads. Now, you have one account, 200 sales. You may want more if you want to see your sales split down into more categories. So, for instance, if you're a restaurant, you may want to see food, drink, takeaway. So you'd have 200 would be food, 201 drink, 202 takeaway. And then the same with the overheads, the direct cost, the cost of sales. You would probably want to have 300, which would be your food, 301, which would be your drink. And then you may then have direct wages of 320, other direct expenses 325. And then you've got your overheads. Now, when deciding what account codes you should have, you need to tread a fine line between having enough that your accounts make sense and you're not posting expenses to account codes and descriptions that really don't make sense, and not having too many so that you've actually got account codes where you only post one item a year to it. The other thing you need to make sure is that you use the same account codes year on year for the same types of expenditure. So for instance, if you post something to advertising and marketing one year, you don't want to be posting it to consulting the year after. That's both for your own peace of mind, because then you can analyse what's going on year, but also the revenue. The revenue look at trends, and if you've got large amounts in advertising and marketing one year and large amounts in consulting the next year, then that could raise an inquiry in the revenue's mind, and you really do not want to be doing that. You can add account codes if we haven't set up enough for you. This is a demo version of Xero, so you don't see it here, but you will have a button up here that says Add Account Code. If you're going to add an account code, you need to make sure you add it to the right series, so 200 series for income, 300 for direct costs, 400 for overheads. You need to make sure you choose the right type when you set it up, either revenue, direct costs, or overhead, and you select the right tax rate. Now, if you're VAT registered, normal VAT registered, then you need to know what's VATable and what isn't. And if you've got any queries when you're setting up a new account code, ask us. If you're flat rate accounting for VAT, then your sales codes will be 20% VAT on income, but everything else will be no VAT. And if we've set you up as a VATable business because you're getting towards the VAT turnover but you're not there yet, then everything should be no VAT until such times as you reach the VAT threshold to register for VAT. The other codes to be aware of are 600s, which are bank accounts, and credit cards and PayPal. So whenever you set up a bank account or a credit card or a PayPal account, you want to give it a 600 code. We wouldn't expect you to be setting up any other codes, anything to do with the balance sheet. Everything you need should be there, and if it isn't, then we need to be setting that up for you. So other than 200, 300, 400, and very, very occasionally a 600 for your bank, credit cards, PayPal, you shouldn't be setting any other codes up. And again, as I said, you need to be careful not to set too many account codes up. Right, that's the chart of accounts. One other thing to notice in Xero is it always on every page has this question mark, and if you click on the question mark, you can get help for the page. You've got a help centre you can go to. You can type in what you want help with, and you also can contact Xero support. And you've got tips that you can turn on and off. So the help can be very useful if you get stuck. Right, the great thing about Xero is how it treats bank accounts. And that is, it will bring through feeds through most of the mainstream bank accounts. And when you first go into your zero, you'll see here, it will say get bank feeds. And what you need to do is you need to go into that and you need to follow the on-screen instructions to set up that bank feed. And it will then pull through the transactions from your bank account into zero. And we recommend that you go in once a week and you do that. You pull through the bank feeds so that you keep on top of it and it's not trying to pull through too many bank feeds for you at one time. The other thing you need to do is you need to make sure each month that the balance that zero thinks is on your bank statement actually represents the actual balance on your bank statement. And you can do this by going into the bank reconciliation report. And if I click here on reconcile 8 items, so we actually go into this HSBC business current account, on the top right, you'll see a link that says reconciliation report. If we click on the reconciliation report, it will take us into an on-screen report which shows us the balance in zero. So here we are, the bank balance in zero, all our outstanding receipts and payments, and then our statement balance down here. And it's this balance here that you need to agree at the end of each month to your actual bank statement. Very occasionally, zero will bring in a duplicate item or it will miss an item. It doesn't happen very often, but by doing this every month, you keep on top of it and it's far easier to work out what's gone wrong. Also, you need to look at these outstanding items and you need to reconcile those outstanding items. And we wouldn't expect more than a month's worth of outstanding items at any one time if you're doing your bookkeeping properly and you're keeping on top of your bookkeeping. We also send you a spreadsheet with month-end routines, which tells you the good practice routines to do, and this is one of them, looking at this bank reconciliation summary. Now, we got through to that via the bank account and the reconcile button. You can also go into reports, all reports, and then on the left-hand side, you've got cash reports and you've got bank reconciliation summary. It's exactly the same thing. Now, posting items from your bank account. Because you're pulling in from your bank account and that's what you're using zero to post, this is by far the easiest way for you to do it. So we've got 8 items here, reconcile 8 items which haven't been posted in the system, items on the bank account which haven't been posted in zero. And you'll have spent and received. So if we look at this first one, Wickler's office supplies, £15.50. So let's assume you're VAT registered, you've gone and you spent £15.50 in Wickler's and you've spent it on paper. Now, you may just want to put in the who over here as being Wickler's office supplies. The account you want it to go to. Now, you don't have to know the 200, 300, 400 number of the account. You can just start simply typing part of the description. So I want that to go to printing and stationery. I'm going to start typing stationery, and there we are. It's picked up 461 printing and stationery. And I may know that I went in there and I bought a load of pencils. And I'm VAT registered and I have a VAT receipt. This is the key thing. It isn't just that you're VAT registered. You need to make sure you've got a VAT receipt. So if you have a VAT inspection and the VAT man says, right, show me that receipt from Wickler's office supplies, you can show it to him and it will have the VAT analysed. Now, what you can also do is you can add details. So supposing, it's only £15.50, we probably wouldn't do that, but let's assume it was £15,000. But down here we've got our pencils one, £15.50. It may be that we spent £10 on pencils and £5.50 on pens. You might want to show that separately. You might want to show some of it to printing and stationery and some of it to marketing, for example. So you can then add a line down here. You can put in pens. You can put in one. Now, you can either show items that are tax inclusive, i.e., for instance, that £15.50 includes VAT, and you'll see down here that zero has analysed it out, or you might want to show the tax exclusive amounts. And that may be more useful where you've got the receipt in front of you and it's got the net, but it's got a total for that, not per line item. So if for instance, with this, we said that we wanted £10 for pencils, but we've got our VAT receipt, and it doesn't tell us £10, it tells us the net, which is £8.33. And then we've got £5 for pens, and the net is £4.58. We want that to go to marketing. We click on here and we start typing marketing, pick up marketing and 20%. You'll see down here the total is £15.50 and the VAT is £2.59. So where you've got a receipt in front of you and the amounts showing on that receipt are net on the line items, it's easier to do amounts are tax exclusive. And then down here you'll see save transaction. And then once you've saved the transaction, you can then match against that transaction in Xero. You simply say, OK, it's selected that, and you can say OK. Now that took a little bit longer because we wanted to show the items separately and post into separate accounts. But let's look down here. We've got another Whittler's Office Supplies. We could just put Whittler's, and it will find the contact this time because we've already set one up, Whittler's Office Supplies. We can choose the account and we can choose stationery, and we could put OKY paper, and it's 20% on expenses because we've got the VAT receipt, and we just click OK. So that was a lot quicker because we weren't looking to analyse it out. The other thing we can do when we add to details, so if we look at this daily standard here and we go to add details, we can also click on this little icon here and we can upload a picture. So we could take a picture on our of our invoice or our receipt on our phone, have it on our desktop or on our Dropbox, which is available via our PC, and we can upload it against the item on the left hand side, which is similar to Receipt Bank. And if we haven't spoken to you about Receipt Bank and you have a lot of invoices from suppliers, do talk to us, because for £10 plus VAT, Receipt Bank will scan and code and work out the VAT on up to 50 invoices. It's £10 plus VAT per 50 invoices. And Receipt Bank and Xero together make a very powerful combination. Receipt Bank's separate from Xero. It's a separate program, but it can save an awful lot of time. The other thing you can do, we can create it, we can add details. If you've already created an expenditure in the accounts via, here we have manage account, spend money, and spend money and receive money, if you go into those individual transactions, they look exactly the same as the add details screen, and you'd fill them out exactly the same way. But if you'd made a spend money for Power Direct and you went in to find a match, then Xero would pick that up and you could then just select it and you could then OK. So if we cancel that, that's how you deal with spent. If it's drawings, then you would create it over here. So say for instance it was drawings, this was drawings, you would put your name in as being who, and what you would put in either the director's loan account if you're a limited company, or proprietor's drawings, or your name plus drawings, whatever we've called that account. So if you've taken money out the business, over here it has to be your name is the who, and then the what is your drawings account or director's loan account. You may want to talk to us the first time you do that because that might be a little confusing. That's spent. Received, again, if you've paid money into the business account, you would create it, you'd put your name, you'd put the director's loan account if you were a limited company, or you would put capital introduced if you were a sole trader or a partnership, and why, you'd put a reason why. And then you'd OK it. But let's assume that's money in from a customer. You could just put the customer's name. So let's assume the customer, we'll try and choose one who's in the system. So the customer is, let's say the customer is Belvedere Dry Cleaning, and you would put it to 200 sales, and why, you could put the invoice number in there, make sure you've got the VAT right, correct, 20% if it's a vatable invoice. If it's any more complicated, then you would want to add details if you've got some vatable items, some non-vatable items, and you would want to split that out down here, again remembering the tax inclusive, tax exclusive, and you could even attach a copy of the invoice to that transaction by clicking on the icon here and uploading from your PC. And in the reference you would probably put their invoice number. So that is how you would deal with receipts. If you have something which comes through regularly, so an insurance payment, or for instance here we've got daily standard, Xero's remembered that the previous time in this system, the daily standard for £20 went to subscription, so it's automatically filled that in, which may be fine. Sometimes it might not though. It may be slightly different over here as to how it's described, or it might be a different amount and then it may get a little bit confused. What you can do for things that come through regularly every month, you can create a bank rule. You click on create rule, and then you just go through, and so for instance, because we clicked on the daily standard one, it's already put a rule there saying that when the payee equals daily standard, the contact will be payee. You would very rarely use number 3. It's normally number 5, and you would put something like subscription. The account would be subscriptions, tax rate, in this case exempt, but it may be 20%, and you want all of it to go to that, 100% of it to go to that. The reference, you could choose from the reference or by me during the bank rec. If we put from the reference, run this rule on whichever account you want. In this case, it's the business current account, and give the rule a title. So for instance, daily standard. If once you've done that, you've set your rule up, it's not working and it's not picking that rule up when you come to reconcile, we'll go back to accounts, bank accounts, and reconcile items. If it's not showing on the bank reconciliation screen, it's probably because something in that rule isn't quite right. Either you've picked up the reference instead of description. So for instance, over here, daily standard, if we click on more, you can see that this in this system in Xero, it considers daily standard to be the payee. Some banks, when they pull them in, would consider daily standard to be the reference or the description, and it's important to pick up the right one when you're setting that rule. So if the rule isn't working and you've refreshed this page, the chances are you've picked up something wrong, and if you can't see what it is, then by all means drop us an email and we'll have a look at that for you. We'll log in and have a look at that for you. So that's how easy it is reconciling your bank every month. All you need to be doing is matching these items. If you get any that you're stuck on and you don't know how to match, again, drop us an email, ask us, we'll have a look. It's far easier to get something right in the first place than it is to put something right afterwards. And if we go into account transactions here, we've got reconcile, bank statements, account transactions. That the bank statement tab just shows where you've pulled through the bank transactions, what dates you've pulled them through from your bank. Account transactions shows you what's then been posted in Xero and what's been reconciled. So for instance, here we have, there's the Whittlers supply that I created, £4.95, and is reconciled, and there's the £15.50 that I created and has been reconciled against the bank statement. Now, if I decide that £4.95 is incorrect, I can click on Whittlers office supplies. I can go to options and I can go remove and redo. And if I do remove and redo, and you'll see down there the entries that we put through, reconcile's now gone up from 6 to 7. If I click on reconcile, then we'll see that £4.95 has reappeared on this left-hand side, waiting to be done, waiting to be posted. So I can redo whatever I want. If I want it to go, instead of printing stationery, I want it to go to marketing, I can put marketing, I can put pencils, and I can say OK. Or if it was the wrong supplier, I can change the supplier and I can redo that again. The other great thing in Xero are the reports that are available. If we click on reports and all reports, we have a list there of all the reports you've got. You've got profit and loss account, budgets. You can use budgets in Xero if you want, balance sheet. You've got the bank reconciliation summary that we saw earlier on that you need to look at, and you've got your VAT return. And you can star any of these, and if you star them, it will appear within your favorites down here. You'll see them, and if you unstar them, then they'll just disappear off your favorites. And the one to keep an eye on is VAT return. You want to be looking at this regularly. Most of the reports in Xero can be exported to Excel. So if we go down to the bottom of this, you'll see down to at the bottom you can export it to Excel or Google Docs if you use Google Docs. You can also export it as a PDF, but where you're working on things, if you want to have a look at what's gone through your VAT return just to make sure that things look right and you don't think there's anything that's gone a bit haywire, you're better off exporting it into Excel. And then again, the thing about Xero is you can actually file your VAT return directly with HMRC from the software. You don't have to go in separately to your online account and file it separately. You can file that directly from the software. So that's a brief look at the reports. They're worth playing with. The dashboard, you've got on the left hand side your bank accounts, and you can change where those show. If you edit dashboard, if you've got lots of bank accounts, you can move things up, you can move things down, you can hide things. So we could put the savings account above the business current account. Probably not a great idea. We want the current account top. So put that down. We can hide if we don't have expense claims. You can hide expense claims. An account watch list you've got there. Account watch list, in there you want the accounts that you want to keep an eye on and see what they're looking like. So sales is normally a good one. Entertainment, because you need to make sure that you're not spending too much entertaining your clients. It's not allowable for tax. And if we go back into settings, chart of accounts, that is where you would set. In here, you would set whether these appear on the watch list. Again, it's because we're looking at a dummy system, I can't click on it and show you, but you would click on one and you'd have a little box down the bottom that says show in watch list, and you would tick that if there's anything that you want to be able to see. So that's a really quick tour around Xero. I hope you're going to start using it now. I hope you're going to love it as much as we do. And if you have any questions, just shoot us over an email and we'll get back to you. Thank you.